Welcome to News Talk New England. I'm Tiffany Williams here with manager of the Worcester Red Sox, Chad Tracy, in his first year as manager of the Worcester Red Sox. First of all, walk me back through this first year here and your experience with this group of guys that you've worked with over this year.
Yeah, it's been a long year now. At this point, we only have 5 left, so we're 145 games into it. But it's a whirlwind considering. We're getting hired back in December and starting to have Zoom calls with Dan in the front office and meeting Dr. Charles and all that in January and doing the Winter Caravan Zoom event that we did. There's just, when you think back on it, it feels like forever ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. And then actually, all that stuff is fun, but then actually getting immersed in the job and starting to meet the players in spring training that you might have and trying to get to know them as people, but also get to know them as players. And then you get into the season and the roster turns over and just starts churning and there's a lot of guys coming in and out. Mm-hmm. But it really has been an incredible time. It's been fun. The people here are amazing. The fans are amazing. And, in large part, we've had a successful season. A lot of players have gone up, so we've had a heck of a time.
Nice. You come from a baseball family. Your dad was a manager, player. Your grandfather, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
You grew up in Claremont, California.
Yeah, half and half. Half Florida and half California. After I moved away from Florida, I spent most of my high school in California.
When did you decide, I'm going to pick up a glove and ball and play this in my life?
I would say when I was 2.
Yeah.
Probably not consciously at that point, because I was on a baseball field all the time, following my dad around. I'm dragging a wiffle ball bat or this or that, but I love baseball from the time I could walk. And then once I got old enough to understand what was actually going on and how blessed I was as a kid to be able to be around professional baseball, is the first time I could have a conscious thought that I can remember. I was like, I want to be a baseball player. Mm-hmm. Chased after it from that moment on and was able to accomplish it, not quite to the level, the major league level, which is every kid's dream. Got darn close, but knew that it was something I wanted to probably make a career out of and stay in it for a long time. It's what I know. Baseball's been life, literally.
Walk me through, you played D1, walk me through that experience.
Yeah, I played at Pepperdine.
Yeah.
Like I said, you mentioned where I grew up. I actually was halfway through high school or, a quarter of the way through high school in Florida when my dad got the job with the Dodgers. We moved to California. I finished my schooling out there at Claremont High, mm-hmm. and then was recruited and did my college at Pepperdine, which was an amazing experience right on the Pacific Ocean. You're not going to find a more beautiful campus in all the country. We also had a very good baseball program there and a really good team, and I got to play for Steve Rodriguez, my head coach. I had a great head coach, and that was kind of where things started to take off for me, as far as like gaining some strength. I got stronger and my play on the field started to improve. And that's kind of where you start to realize if you want to do this, you're going to have to really pour into it, quite a bit in order to make it a career. But was very blessed to be able to go to Pepperdine and had a great 3 years there before I got drafted.
Yes. You played on the international team. Mm-hmm. What was that experience like?
One of my favorite baseball moments, honestly, to wear your country on your chest and be able to get to play for your country. Everything, and as a player trying to climb to the big leagues where there's a lot of personal stuff involved, where you're trying to make sure you have a good whatever, but like that was just the epitome of like nothing matters except us winning. Mm-hmm. And you're doing it for your country. So I got we lost the gold medal game, but I got a silver medal hanging on my wall at home. And I always tell people it's maybe one of the proudest and greatest experiences on a baseball field was be able to play for your country. So it was, not many people get to do that. Yeah. And I'm, one of the coolest things I've got to do.
Mm-hmm. When you look at this team here, the Woo Sox, you had 2 Olympic medalists last year. You're a silver medalist. How's that make the team look?
It's cool. It's cool. It's being able to do it allows me to talk to guys if they ever ask about it.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think? And I always, the times I've been asked by guys, I'll always say if you get the opportunity to do it, you should jump on it because there's really nothing like it. Depending on where the tournament's at or if you're in the World Cup or whatever it is, you're going to be potentially in a foreign country. And there's a lot of attention on it, and the crowds can get rowdy. But I always tell them, like, there's, just like I just told you, there's nothing like putting your country on your chest and playing for a deeper meaning. So I always tell guys, if you get a chance, do it. So it's most guys I speak to that have done it speak the same way about it.
Yeah.
Incredible experience.
Talking about your minor league experience, what are some of your greatest memories? And if you had to look back, is there anything you would ever change?
I wouldn't change anything. You know, I think that's life, right? Like, you go through life, you give it your all, you do it how you think you should at the time. You're gonna make mistakes, but the mistakes are usually what help you grow. I really believe that. So, like, yeah, I mean, you can look back on certain things like, man, I wish I'd have done this or that, but that's just hindsight, right? But wishing that, like, maybe the things you did helped you get to something else that you wouldn't have got to if you'd have done it differently. So my minor league experience was great. It was almost 10 years, 9 years and change as a minor league player, across 3 or 4 different organizations. Met a lot of incredible coaches, a lot of great teammates that I still keep in touch with to this day, like, friends that maybe you don't talk to all the time, but if you see them, they're lifelong friends. Yeah. And all of that led me to here right now. So yeah, I always look at that stuff and say, no, I wouldn't change anything, because if I did, maybe I wouldn't be sitting where I'm at right now, and I'm blessed to be able to manage the Woo Sox. So no regrets at all. Enjoyed every second of it, and now I'm happy to be helping guys try to take that final rung of the ladder here.
What is it like when, sitting in that chair and you make that call to a player, you're going to the big leagues?
Yeah.
What is that like?
It's exhilarating, especially, for somebody that wanted that badly himself and never got to get that call. Yeah. It's almost, in a way, gratifying for me to be able to give it to others, So it depends on who it is. Some guys you're telling them for the 4th time, and they've already gotten used to the up down, and other times where, this year I've gotten to tell, a handful of guys that it's their first one, and you can feel the emotion come out of them, because that they poured the same things into the game that I did when I was a player. So I know where it's coming from, and I know why the emotion shows. But it's a very, very cool moment to you're basically essentially telling somebody, hey, congratulations, you achieved your dream. Yeah. And that's incredible to be able to be the one to relay that to them. So there's nothing like it.
You told us a story during the season when Jeter down scores that call.
Yeah.
You want to tell us that?
Yeah, it was great. We had an off day, so that got made into a bigger deal than it was, but there was an off day, and so everybody was probably sleeping in, and it happened to be that the big league team wasn't off, and I was told Jeter's going up, so I made several phone calls, is the best way I'll put it, to try to get a hold of him. We had plenty of time. They were at home in Fenway at the time, so it was no rush, but I did want to get him the news as quick as I could, so if he wanted to get over there early and get accustomed to it. But it took several calls to get a hold of him, and he was sleeping in that morning. When he finally answered, I was able to, I think I said something to the effect of, like, you want to go to the big leagues or not? And he really started crying. So yeah. Sometimes those things actually make it an even more cool experience when you actually tell them, you've tried to make several calls to get a hold of them, but there was nothing to it, but it was still a great moment for him. Mm-hmm.
What would you give advice to the kid back in Claremont High, Chad Tracy today, to that kid?
Oh, I just think, just like you just said, I just think if you have something that you want to do, you just go after it as hard as you can for as long as you can, and not take roadblocks or things that come up, or if you don't get all the way there and you don't set standards where, like, if this doesn't happen, then it was a failure, that you're going to learn things all along the way. And I just really believe life isn't just a one-way street. Like, there's going to be this, and then here's a decision that's going to have 2 or 3 different routes that you could go, and it doesn't mean any of them are wrong. So just you set your mind out to something, you're passionate about something you want to do, and you go after it, and then you're at peace. As long as you do it as hard as you can, you feel like, I did it the right way, there's no regrets, and however it turns out, you went after it. So, I don't know if that's good advice. I think it probably is. Yeah. But that was kind of my journey. There was a lot of different, forks in the road along the way, and different things. And that can be stressful at times, and you just got to say, this is what I'm doing, here I go, so that'd be the advice I have, is if you know what you want to do, then set out to do it, and I feel like if you approach it that way, it's probably a success regardless of how it turns out.
Is there a motto or a quote that you live by every day?
No, not really. No, I no specific quote. I do, at times, me like anybody else, it's easy to say these things, but I think anybody has their days. You wake up and you're frustrated, or you have a rough day and it's frustrating, and you lose sight of the big picture at times, and you have to kind of rein yourself back in of like, big picture, like this has been incredible, or like look what you did here, you did there. So no quote, just wake up every day, and then if you're in those moments as you start to drive in, you realize that you're in charge of running a team, that like, hey, you got 30 some odd players and 13 coaches, and you got to make an impact on somebody today. And if you do that, then in large part, isn't it a successful day? If you can impact a few people a day, it may not be everybody, but just try to kill people with joy and do the best you can with that. And that's not going to say that every day you're going to come in and not have your off days, but try to do that on a daily basis.
Yeah. When you got that initial phone call from the Woo Sox, that they wanted you here, what was going through your mind?
That was it was cool. It was a whirlwind, because it's not just the Woo Sox, it's the Boston Red Sox. The partnership between the two. So it's like you got the Boston Red Sox. Like, man, I get to work for the Boston Red Sox, one of the most storied franchises in baseball. That's number one. And oh, by the way, I get to go to what I've heard is probably one of the best minor league experiences that you can have. Brand new ballpark a year ago. The front office I heard about, and the way they take care of people, and the fans support and everything. And I'm looking at all this like I may be sitting in one of the best minor league chairs in all of baseball. So all that kind of piles in on you, like, this is incredible. So I was blessed. I was grateful, I think is the proper word. And a lot of things I went through last year, and then going through the process of talking to different places to what am I gonna do next year to land in this one, and then to have come here and gone through the year, and I look back on it, I'm like, I truly, like, I don't know if just it was God's plan or something, but I truly fell into like what I feel like was probably the perfect situation for me and my family. And that's a big one. My family, they enjoyed it as much or even more than I did being out here, and my wife really loved it. My kids loved it. So it was perfect for my family this year. We enjoyed every second of it.
I think the big question everybody wants to know, will there be a year 2 of Chad Tracy?
I think so. That's in the plans right now. Obviously in professional baseball, things change on a dime in the off season, and all kinds of the merry-go-round gets going and things like that. But as far as we sit right now, I have every intention of being back here next year. So, and if that's the case, like I said, I don't think I'll be very blessed, and I don't know if there's a better place to work. So, as of right now, I intend on sitting in that chair come April next year.
Talking about you and Flo.
Yeah.
Because you guys seem like you have really clicked really well.
Yeah, we met in spring training. We talked a number of times in the off season. After we were both hired, leading up to spring training, trying to get on the same page, he and I, as far as like what his belief system is, what my belief system is, what matters to me, his thoughts on things that matter to him, knowing that how big of a resource he was going to be for me. That he's got big league experience. He's been around the game for 25 years. He's bilingual. He's Latin American, so you're gonna manage players here of all different nationalities. So like all those things. And us trying to get on the same page, and so we had a lot of those conversations, and then leading into spring training, that was where we actually got to like spend some time with one another and get to know each other. And it just took off from there, honestly. Like once we got onto the field, into the baseball aspect of things, and we started working together, and it was like, man, we really view things very similarly.
Yeah.
And I really challenged him, and I not really challenged him, but I let him be himself. Like I want him to talk when he feels like he needs to talk. He runs a lot of our advanced meetings, and he's got information. I want him to spill out the information that he has to give these guys. So I feel like he's probably felt free to be able to, not have me looking over his shoulder. But he's been incredibly loyal to me. And he's always checking in with me. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? He always checks with me first because he knows I'm the manager, but I think he feels the freedom too. That's like, hey man, if you got something to say to our guys or whatever, you say it, because his experience speaks for itself. So, but our dynamic's been incredible. I hope that he's here with me next year, and I hope I get to work with him a lot of years in the future because he's one of the best baseball guys I've ever been around.
Nice. When you got here, did Rich Gedman give you any advice on Worcester? He's like the
Of course, yeah.
godfather.
Yeah,
of
yeah. I
Worcester
called him.
baseball.
Actually, I think my first call to him was like, "Tell me about Worcester," you know,
Yeah.
because I'm going to manage a team, and it's your hometown.
Yeah.
So we talked through it, and he kind of gave me an idea of how it's evolving now that the ballpark's here in different areas, and this is where you might want to look to live, or this or that. So we talked quite a bit about that, and he was just adamant that he thinks I'll love it, and he's proud of his hometown.
Yeah.
He's very proud of it. And he's proud to coach here. So we had a handful of conversations. Yes.
Nice. Have you found a favorite restaurant in Worcester?
I just got asked that outside, and I don't, because honestly, like, I 111 or
111 Chop House.
111 Chop House is great, and then there's 110 Grill.
110 Grill's good.
110 Grill, I went with my wife twice before she left, and we loved that. We loved it. It was really good.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, I ate at a handful of places, but I didn't eat out as much as people would think, just because we get fed here,
They say fed
and
here.
I'm often the last one in here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's most nights it's well after 11 o'clock before I walk out of here.
Mm-hmm.
So the opportunities to go out to dinner are few and far between for the manager.
Yeah.
But I did go to those places. I went to Russo's Italian place. I know Ed. We met him early in the
Ed's really
season.
great.
Me and Flo went there one of our first week in town. So those were all great places. But just the nature of the job doesn't allow you to explore as much as maybe the players can. So,
Yeah.
But I did go to a few, and it's a pretty nice area. There's a lot of places to go for sure.
Did you get to go to Fenway yet?
I went to Fenway when I interviewed, so I was
Yeah.
there. It was my first time at Fenway Park when I interviewed for the job back in
Did you get to like
December.
soak in a game yet? there?
No,
Not
I haven't
yet?
soaked in the game. It had not. I've kind of walked the circumference of it, and we went out and stood on the monster and did that whole thing. Awesome. It's one of the parks I hadn't been to. Eventually, I'll soak in a game there, but a very cool place.
Worcester baseball fans, what do you have to say to the fans?
Thank you. I mean, truly. I mean, we're doing the fan appreciation stuff outside today, and I said this so many times. I don't think everybody fully comprehends. Like it matters. Like when there's that many people sitting out there, even on a Wednesday afternoon game or a Tuesday evening game or whatever it is, and you walk out there and there's 6,000-7,000 people there, and they're into the game and they get loud, and all the stuff they have going on here. Like it matters. Like our players are energized playing here. I wish we'd have won a few more games here than we did. We played competitively, obviously, but our players love playing here. When you go on a road trip and we're coming back, and you can feel their excitement about we get to play a weekend at Polar Park, and we're going to have a packed house full of people here watching us play. So I would say thank you, like for showing up. It means more than you know to our staff, players, everybody. Like we love it here.
Awesome. Thank you very much for doing this today.
Thanks for
For
having
News
me.
Talk New England, I'm Tiffany Williams. Remember, you don't have to be perfect. Just be yourself.